Good morning and welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View. In the Celtic news this morning, there's been a lot of speculation about an ex-Celtic player maybe returning to Celtic Park, but that's never going to happen. Let's be realistic about it, and there's not a chance that that will happen. Today's target is 200 thumbs up, so make sure you give the video a thumbs up to hit that target this morning. Right, so Celtic are going to go into the transfer market. We all know that. Celtic want to bring in some more quality. I think they need to use the word experience, preferably experience, because that's what we need. You can get quality at a younger player's age, but I really want us to get experience to help these other players come on. One player that Celtic have been looking at is Bojan Mavovsky, who scored twice last night. He did manage 2 goals last night for Aberdeen against Livingston. Now, let's face it, if he can't do it at the weekend, but he can do it against Livingston, is he the type of player that we want at Celtic? We want a striker that's going to come in and take us to the next level, especially for Champions League. But Aberdeen have come out and said that they're not really looking to let him go anyway. Although he did score, Barry Robson says that, speaking about Mavovsky, after the goals last night, they're giving him the win. He says, we want to keep him at the club for the foreseeable future. He's doing really well. He's always enjoyed it here, and we want to play him as much as we can. We'll find a way to play him at his maximum. The chairman of Aberdeen has said he's not allowed to go. There's a model at the club. We've signed a lot of good players, but we're a good team. And with Bojan and others who are performing well in big European games, people are obviously going to look at our players, but we want to keep our good players. And they're basically making sure that Celtic don't come in for their player. So we shall see. We shall see. Although he scored the 2 goals last night, is he really the type of player that we're looking for at Celtic? Yes, he can do it in the league. And let's face it, all that we need to worry about is the league. The Champions League and everything will get forgotten about until next year, which I think is wrong by Celtic. I think we need to be going out this transfer window and buying in players that we know that are going to be suitable to play at that higher level next season. Because let's face it, we have to win the league. We have to make sure that we keep our dominance of Scottish football. And they won a cup and they'll be all nice and cheery about it from the weekend. I still think we will beat them at Celtic Park. We will beat them at Celtic Park. I can't see Celtic getting beat 3 times in December for the first time in a very long time. Tell me the last time in the comments when was the last time that Celtic got beat 3 times in December. Now, let's talk about Jota. There is a lot of speculation last night about Jota, and he was offered back to Celtic. He was offered back to Celtic and for a loan till the end of the season, but it was with an obligation to buy. Celtic have had an obligation to buy Jota before, and it turned out very successful. But this time, there is not a chance that Celtic will spend the best part of 15 to 20 million on bringing Jota back, unfortunately. And let's face it, let's be really honest here. The Celtic that Jota left just 6 months ago has pretty much changed in the dynamics and the way the club is. Is that down to the manager? Well, most definitely. There seems to be a lot of unhappiness at the club just now, and definitely from the manager. I think the manager's not happy with the way that players are performing for him, and he's not impressed with the quality of the squad, which he keeps on reiterating. Now, I think this is the wrong thing for the manager to do, because he's basically hung out the players to dry, and when that happens, well, you just need to look down the road and at Man United and see how they've got they spent a lot of money and they're doing absolutely nothing. So is it the right thing? We have to sort of bring in, will Jota want to come back? We do know that when Brendan came in, he did say that he was looking forward to working with Jota, but it got sold underneath his feet. You can't blame the player, but the player has went off and he's made his money. Unless they buy out his contract, there's no way that Celtic will pay the majority of a 200 grand a week contract. Not a chance. Jota was under contract with Celtic until the summer, and he had a clause in the contract that if a bid came in for him and Celtic refused the bid, he would go into 45 grand a week. But when he looked at the club in question and the 200 grand a week, he jumped ship and ran. So would you take him back if he was to take? It's never going to happen. Let's face it. The fees involved, and it's never going to happen. Celtic would obviously have laughed off the financials for it. There's absolutely no way that they could take him on. Yes, they could take him on loan to the end of the season if they're going to pay a big chunk of his wages, but there's not a chance in hell hell would have to freeze over before Peter Lawler banked him with that kind of money. Anyway, a player that is still on Celtic's books and that is out on loan, who basically made sure he talked his way out the door. Sead Haksabanovic, remember him? The 24-year-old is on season-long loan at Stoke. Stoke. Anyway, he's coming back from injury. Don't worry, he's not coming back to Celtic. He's coming back from injury. So he has been out since November with a groin injury, and they're hoping to be. Let's hope they just take him at the end of the season, because that's one player that I just don't think he did anything when he was at Celtic. Anyway, one player, that's all fantastic, great news this morning for Celtic. When you look at one player that's still at Celtic all this time, and he had a game for the B team at the weekend, James McCarthy. The money that he has taken out of Celtic when his contract's up at the end of the summer will be over £2 million. £2 million for James McCarthy to come up to Scotland and basically sit around for a couple of years. And is it a waste of his career? I think so. But then again, he's going to be one of those players that say, yeah, I played for Celtic for 801 minutes and took over $2,000. Anyway, when you look at you can understand why Celtic are now trying to get players off the books, because let's face it, the club is all about making as much money as we can. There's currently around about $100,000 worth a week of players that Celtic are looking to shift in the next transfer window. Now, this doesn't settle good with me, because they're looking at it from that financial point of view, which is rightly so, and the club will always be run like that. But you can't sit and boast about having £72 million in the bank and then want to get rid of $100,000 a week off the wage bill. Because let's face it, you brought the players in. This manager didn't bring in a lot of these players as well. He didn't bring in any of the players. He only brought in Nat Phillips and maybe Lewis. It was probably about the maximum that he had a direct effect on bringing in. The rest of them were all name-checked well before the previous manager left. So how does it sit with you that we're trying to get rid of $100,000 a week off the wage bill? Will we go out and spend that money? Will we go out and spend that on two players to come in on the best part of $50,000 a week? Would be fantastic, because that would be players of quality. Will Celtic spend that kind of money? Not a chance. And one player that looks like he's on his way out is obviously Gustav Lagerbielke, which I'm devastated at. Is the last defender that we've had that scored from a header recently. We need people that can score from a header, especially from corners, which we've been absolutely woeful at recently. But big Gustav Lagerbielke, it looks as if he's going to be shown the door. The 23-year-old only arrived in the summer. You can't go from being the best player in Sweden, best defender in Sweden, to be absolutely ranked rotten as far as Celtic are concerned. The fact that he can't get past Carter Vickers, we always knew that would never happen. But Liam Scales has played out his skin. And the fact that he's come in, he's only been given half a season, but it seems to be that there's now people talking about some of the Celtic players that will be leaving, and Gustav's one of them, and they're basically saying that Gustav isn't up to it, which I think is a bit of bad from Celtic to be coming out and letting that kind of information slip out. I mean, when you look at Nat Phillips that came on loan from Liverpool, and everyone thought, yeah, he's a Liverpool player, he must be good. He had one good season at Liverpool, and he's been a Shane Duffy type material, but gladly we didn't take an option to buy with him, or it was just a short-term loan due to the injury crisis that we did have at the beginning of the season. So if that's two defenders that we're letting go, will we bring another one in? Because that only leaves Stephen Welsh and Big Rocky. And is Stephen Welsh really the type of player that we're going to go forward with in the Champions League? Or is Rocky going to live up to his £3 million, nearly £4 million transfer fee? It's a difficult one. So will Brendan Rodgers go out and strengthen in that department if he lets Gustav go? What about Bosun Lawwell? Will they bring him back? He's on loan to the end of the season, so I can't see that happening. I can't see him getting brought back halfway through the season. So that'll be an interesting one. All it does is it just adds fuel to the fire with Celtic just now. It's going to be interesting. The next Celtic game is obviously this weekend. Christmas present from Celtic. 3 points would be absolutely fantastic. Nothing else. It has to be 3 points. It's against a team that we should be beating all day long. And on that note, well, there will be a live tonight. Sorry about that there wasn't a live last night. I was out having my little Christmas jolly. And on that note, have a fantastic day, Celtic fans all around the world. And that's it. We're done. Happy Christmas.